Alright, what's up, guys? We're back with another NFL tier list. I actually really liked making the last two tier lists, so we're actually just going to make another one. And this might be my last one for a little bit because I'm going to start doing some other stuff. But it's early in the morning and I'm looking for something to make. But what better to make than an NFL tier list? Another one, because it was pretty fun and I think my takes are controversial enough to get people talking about it, but at the same time, it's not atrocious. So let's just get right into it. Right, starting off, we have the S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier. I don't truly think that there's an F tier receiver. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if there was, then they wouldn't be in the league, or they would have trouble getting signed to our roster. So we're just going to start out with AJ Brown, who very easily goes in the A tier. He's elite. He's been elite in Tennessee, and now he's elite in Philly. The guy is overall just a great player. I'm going to put Amari Cooper in A tier for the exact same reason, because he has been good on literally every team that he played in, and I had to watch him shred the Giants defense for a few years in Dallas. So he's a different breed. Very consistent too. He's just an amazingly consistent player. Next up, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to put him at the top of A tier. I think if I see one more elite year out of him, I'm going to put him in S tier simply for his skill and his mentality. Top tier, elite, if you will. Brandon Cooks, we're going to actually put in B tier despite him being a number 2 option. I think Brandon Cooks is incredibly underrated, and if CeeDee Lamb wasn't in that offense, I think he'd be just fine. But overall, he's an amazing number 2 option. Brandon Ayuk is also going to be in the A tier just because I think he really is the number 1 on that team, despite Deebo Samuel being there, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. He still is the dominant receiver there, in my opinion. Calvin Ridley, I'm going to put in B tier. He's underwhelming. I think he hasn't been good in a while. I mean, he could still eclipse 1,000 yards, but he's not going to be dominant like these other guys. I mean, he's probably better than Brandon Cooks, but not as good as these top guys up here. CeeDee Lamb is going to go in the S tier. I think we've seen a progressive increase from him, and I think that every year he's been in the league, he has gotten significantly better, and this was just simply the peak. And he was 50 yards away from leading the NFL in receiving yards, and I believe he did lead in receiving touchdowns, so I cannot take that from him. Chris Godwin is going to go in the B tier. I think he's a great receiver. He might be maybe the best number 2 option. There's a few guys maybe I'd put ahead of him, but overall he's one of the best number 2 options in the league. And again, if Mike Evans wasn't in that offense, he'd be great. Actually, I think he'd be dominant just like Mike Evans is. Chris Olave, I'm also going to put in the B tier. I don't think that's necessarily his fault, but at the same time, you got to just take it the way it is, and I just think that he's not really lived up to the hype, I guess. And Christian Kirk, I'm going to put in B tier for the exact same reason. He got a record-breaking contract, and he really hasn't done much with it, so I can't give him too much credit. Next up, we have Christian Watson. I'm actually going to put him in C tier, and the reason for that is just that I think that for the same reason as these two guys, he just really hasn't shown why he's this dominant receiver, and he's getting his target stolen by 2 other guys, so it's not a good look for him, honestly. Cooper Kupp, I'm going to put in the top of B tier. I think that he fell off. Well, he didn't fall off. He was injured, but I need to see another elite season out of him. I can bump him up and kind of put him up along these other guys. Cortland Sutton, I'm going to put probably also in the B tier. We're going to have a lot of B tier guys, probably because they're all, pretty average receivers. Cortland Sutton, I think, is fine. He's all right. Drake London, again, I'm going to put you in C because you sold me in some of my fantasy games because I made the desperate mistake of trusting Desmond Ridder to be a good quarterback this year in fantasy. So I'm just going to put you in C because you sabotaged my fantasy league for a few games. Curtis Samuel, again, I'm also going to put in C. He's a number 2 option, but he's not necessarily dominant like some other number 2 options. D. Adams, he's got to go in A. I don't care what anyone says. His age isn't really catching up with him. He's dominant. He's still elite. And speaking of people whose age is coming up with him, DeAndre Hopkins, huh? Unfortunately, he's probably B tier at this point. He really fell off this year compared to his other years. Deebo Samuel, I'm actually going to put him in the A tier as well, despite having 2 A tier receivers. He was the one for a long time, and he still was dominant, and he's an extremely versatile player. So I have to put him up there. Devonta Smith, I'm going to put at the top of B tier again. I think, just like Chris Godwin, I think if we were taking out the number 1 receiver on their teams, I think that they'd both be dominant number 1s, and I think it wouldn't be much of an issue. Maybe not as good as the other guy, but it'd still be great. Deontay Johnson. Actually, I put in D tier. I think he's great. He's a good player, but the problem is he just can't get touchdowns. And just for that, if you can't put numbers on the board, I just can't really put you any higher. DJ Moore, I'm actually gonna put high up in A tier. I think he really blew up this year, and I think despite having Justin Fields being the one who threw him the ball and Tyson Bagent, he still managed to work with it. And I think that's just impressive, honestly. DK Metcalf, I'm actually gonna. I need to kind of stricten my criteria, so I'm gonna put him in the top B tier. I think again he's dominant, he's a number one, but he also has two other guys who kind of steal a little bit of the spotlight from him. I think Tyler Lockett is great. I think JSN is gonna be great. So I'm gonna leave it like that. Dontavion Wicks, probably put him in C tier as well, I guess. I mean they're all kind of even in my book, but just for different reasons in terms of skill level. Garrett Wilson, A. Again, the numbers this guy puts up with Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, those three guys. I think he was putting up numbers with Joe Flacco and Mike White a few years ago. That is crazy to be that good and having those guys throwing you the ball. George Pickens, I'm gonna actually put in B tier. I think again he's great. He's a great number one. But the problem is he's just not as dominant as these other guys, and I kind of have to keep this a little exclusive. Might actually change it. So next up we have Jahan Dotson. Where do I put John? I guess probably also just C tier. Jamar Chase, A tier again. I think he's actually getting a little underrated right now just because of the problems that Joe Burrow was having this season. So Jameson Williams, C tier. JSN, B tier for potential. Jaden Reed, B tier because I actually like him compared to these other two guys in terms of like receiving threats, and I think he's going to grow to be the best receiver on that team. Jalen Waddle, I'm actually going to put in A tier. Just literally, I think he is the best number two in the entire league, unfortunately. Because I don't really like the Dolphins, but unfortunately he is. Jordan Addison, B tier. Justin Jefferson, obviously a S tier. That's not even a question, y'all. Come on. I don't even think I need to explain why. I don't care if he missed time. He's still amazing. Keenan Allen, A tier. Maybe high B, but I'm going to put him in A. Marquise Brown, on the other hand, Hollywood Brown is most definitely going to go in B tier. He's the most B tier receiver I can think of. Michael Pittman Jr., again, top of B tier. I'm going to put him below some of these other guys. He's not as good as most of these other guys. I'll probably even put D-Hop ahead of him. Mike Evans, A tier. Consistency, I think he's about to actually break the record for consecutive 100. He's going to break the record for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, and that's just something I can't write off. Mike Williams, again, he's a great number two option. I'm going to put him in B tier. Nico Collins. This is where it gets kind of tough because we're going to get a lot of the Texan receivers. We got these three. Nico Collins. I don't think he's A worthy. I'm actually, no, I'll give him his flowers. He played well. I'm going to put him in A tier. I'm going to put Puka in B tier just because, yes, he's extremely dominant. But again, this was his rookie year with an injured Cooper Kupp. When Cooper Kupp comes back, I don't think he's going to be as dominant. But again, I can't take that from him. He's great. Rashee Rice, I can't put him in the A tier. I'm going to put him about right here with Hollywood. I think he's a little bit worse than Hollywood. Diggs, he fell off, but I'm going to put Diggs up there. And Tank Dell, I'm going to put in B tier with these guys over here. Fellow rookie. I think Puka definitely played better if I can even get him up there. We got T. Higgins. This is tough. I don't know whether to put T. Higgins. I'm actually going to, this is a bit of a hot take. I think T. Higgins is the second best number two in the entire league. And actually, I'm going to put him right there because I think that's how I'd rank number twos in terms of the best of them. Scary Terry, I think, is a little overrated. We're going to put him... I'll put Scary Terry. I'll put him like right here. Perfect. Tyler Lockett, I think, is... he's a B tier. Tyreek, S tier. Zay Flowers, B tier. And these are all the rookies, and I'm not going to rank this, but I'll be right back because I'm going to fix some of this list because this looks a little off to me. Alright, and we're back. I kind of made a few changes. I moved some guys down to C tier. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but we have to kind of loosen it up a little bit and kind of have to establish this gap between certain players. I'm also going to, I'm going to leave it like that. I think there's only a handful of D tier receivers as well as only a handful of S tier receivers as well. So this is my list. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, then please like, subscribe, and I will make more videos because that's what I'm trying to do. It's been going pretty well for me so far. I actually really like it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see y'all later. See you.